The stakes are high and something's terribly wrong for our American kids, our teenagers. You can see this in the statistics of the growth and the rise of depression, anxiety, and suicide. You can see it on our college campuses with this call-out culture, this culture that it says it's okay to shout down. The stakes are high, and we all must discover what we can do. Corbin must flourish. But Corbin University is not about being safe ideologically. Corbin University is not about having sound. Corbin University is not about being safe emotionally. We want our students to be strong. When others are backing out of the conversation, we're stepping in. Whether that be about abortion, whether that be about sexual identity. We're preparing students to engage in the conversation, not step away from it. We're educating Christians who will make a difference in the world for Jesus Christ. That's Corbin's mission. And that's different. Corbin isn't paving the jungle for our kids. We're setting the stage for the students to strap on some boots, engage in the conversation, and learn how to deal with adversity. Corbin's changing students for the road, not changing roads for the students. The stakes are high, and Corbin University is flourishing. Thank you.
Your sons have taken a gun, put it to their head, and that hurts. I can't tell you how many, even one of my own employees. So the last resort, and the last place we turn to is to God, asking for help. How many of you have been there? Raise your hands when you've gotten to that point. How many of you have been there and you've seen this? That where you don't, the last resort of a child, or any adult even, is we turn to God when we need help and ask for God to help take control of our lives and help us heal. And so when we teach our kids about evil, instead of, and that's evil, we have two sides of this world, evil and God's blessed truth, with God's Holy Spirit. Anyway, that's, his words touch my heart in reference to what we have to teach our kids. We got to put the Bible back in the educational system. We got to put the Ten Commandments back into our government. We have to turn us back to the clock that the deep state is trying to destroy America. The deep state is trying to get into America because they can't conquer us. You got one submarine, 240 nuclear warheads, 24 missiles. You can do a lot of damage to that. But we don't, it's not, they can't, China can't conquer us militarily, but they can conquer us by destroying us from within. That's how they're going to do it, and that's how they've been doing it. It's like taking a frog and dropping it in hot water, it'll jump out. You put the frog in the hot water and gradually raise it up. I was back in, I'm going to tell how old I am. 1964, I was on the USS aircraft carrier Ticonderoga, CV-814 in the Gulf of Tonkin. We were attacked. It wasn't by North Vietnamese. It was Chinese. It was by the Chinese that attacked us. So we're still fighting that war today. And the deep state is funding people within our country that are basically working for them. It sounds too far off, but it's crazy. But they're working for them, and we're fighting evil, and we're losing our foundations. They want you to get rid of your history. They want to get rid of the Bible. They want to get rid of evil in. They want to see you fighting on the streets. They want you to do that, and we have to push back. Now, when they get in our face, we got to get back in their face, but in a different way. One way to defeat evil. And I always jokingly say Democrats, because when I start praying, they leave. So anyway, we pray here a lot. I don't think there's any Democrats in here. Anyway, I never know, Joe. Yeah, Jeff, okay. Anyway, Jeff, you're gonna take over from this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ames. Don't you appreciate that? We only have about 45 minutes left before we're finished with today's event. Really appreciate each and every one of you making the journey here. Some of you have come a long way to be here, and we deeply appreciate it. We haven't had this event for about 3 years. We want to start doing this every year that Ames and Dama are willing to let us come up here to this wonderful place. In a couple of years, we have a presidential election. We're going to do whatever we can to see if we can either get the vice president out here or the president out here. We need that. We need that in this state. We need lots of prayer. The deep state, if you haven't seen Bill's banner, you should take a look at it when we're done. The deep state just isn't the NSA or the CIA or the DIA or all of the other alphabet agencies at in the intelligence community. It actually is deeper than that even, because it's in your local bureaucracy of your city, of your county, of your state government. You have radicals. Radicals who do not believe in the principles that our founders do. And if you've seen any of the James O'Keefe videos lately about Department of Justice in DC and other people that are radicals that are using the environment of being a protected government employee, they can't get fired, and misusing to target those of us so that we don't have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They're there, they're real, and they're in Oregon government, and they're in some of your cities. The deep state is real, friends, and we need people of courage who are willing to throw their hat into the ring. I served 8 years in the House of Representatives. We've got some candidates here that we're going to hear from in a little bit, and some of our great organizations whose booths are out here. It is a tough thing to expose your very life to the other side, because they will stop at nothing to destroy you, and we're seeing that with Judge Callahan. But it's necessary. Edmund Burke said all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. So if we let the other side run for office at the school board, Bob, you're just 100% correct. A few people, and you win your school board elections, water board, fire board, city councils, county commissions, a few hundred votes, people working, you take over, and then that's your opportunity to stand up for what's right, what you know is right for this great nation. So, let me introduce you to our next speaker. And then after he's finished, we're going to have 2-minute speeches from a number of our groups and a couple of our candidates. And we'll be out here by 5 o'clock. A guy who is willing to put his life out there and has been roundly criticized, but yet stands firm in the face of interviews like with Rachel Maddow, is our very own Dr. Art Robinson. And if Art would make his way here, friends, I got to tell you, he has stood firm for everything he believes. And we are blessed to have people like him really in the arena. Thank you, Art. Thank you so much.
Yes, this has been terrific. This is fantastic. You must realize there's been nothing of this quality in the state. This is the best possible place for all great recruiters. You know, the greatest, by far the greatest American educator was Booker T. Washington. And Washington wrote in many of his books that the purpose of education is to train a human mind to seek and find the truth. Thomas Jefferson said, I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility to every form of tyranny over the mind of man. All of these things we're engaged in, of course, are a battle against falsehood for truth and to control the mind of man. And after the revolution, our founders, I'll get to this in a minute. After the revolution, our founders waited about 10 years and had a constitutional convention. And probably the most serious concern they had was that they formed a nation, but it might descend into a democracy. By definition, a democracy is a place where 51% of the people can vote away the freedoms of the 49%. All such systems in history have failed. They all descend into mob rule and failure. We use the word democracy in a different way now. We certainly have not become a pure democracy. So they created a constitutional republic. They listed the fundamental rights of man that should not be transgressed upon, and they built a government where we, of course, elect the people who are the custodians of our rights, and each of them is sworn to uphold the Constitution, and that should work fine. But they all also worried, and there are quotes from many of them, about a time would come when the forces against human liberty would possibly prevail. There are pessimistic comments from all of them, and that time has come. The constitutional republic we have is of course, severely threatened, and you don't need to have me explain that to you. But in the United States and in America, we've been challenged several times, and each time we seem that our free people, people arise that we need at particular times from freedom that help us. And this time, it's happening again. The question that each American asks himself is, what can he do on that in this situation? We're in the position of trying to save a constitutional republic on a very unprincipled, crooked battlefield, semi-democratic battlefield. And we have no choices in the battlefield because that's where we are. We have to win where we stand. And in the recent past, of course, we were privileged to have a man become president who is doing wonderful things for our country. But he and everybody that helped put him over the top of the election have suffered the most egregious attacks that we've ever seen in our political process. In our family, we're a family of scientists. My wife and I came here 37 years ago and founded a research institute along with some of our colleagues, which is dedicated to increasing the quality, quantity, and length of human life, and also keeps its independence by never taking any government money. It was simple. All we had to do was science and design experiments that might be helpful to people. But the world, of course, became more complex. The Cold War was a tremendous threat, and we stopped work for 6 years and worked on nuclear civil defense. Along with FEMA and scientists at Oak Ridge and ourselves, we did a lot on that issue. And fortunately, the work we did was never needed. Not yet. But in fact, the lack of nuclear civil defense in our country could triple the number of casualties if we ever have a nuclear weapon explode in the city. And we really should prepare for that. After 6 years, we went back to work. And then this thing, this taxation, the regulation, the litigation, all the things that were dragging down American freedom became of greater and greater concern to us. And we looked and we're just science. And we noticed that there was only one scientist in the U.S. Congress, and he's a lefty, and that science and scientific knowledge in a technological age was almost missing from our Congress and the Senate and the House. And we looked at the congressman we had and said, you know, he's no good. He's been harming our district anyway. And it might be useful to have at least one congressional office dedicated to science. So we decided to run for office. And that, you know, has turned into 4.5 runs now, and 1 term as chairman of the state party. And I assure you, this band of scientists knows more about politics now than we ever wanted to know. We have done our best. We keep doing a little better. And each time that we do this, we look around and we say, well, what can we do? We're just little bit players. What can we do? If we beat DeFazio, well, we're doing better. We'll do a lot better this time. Will we better enough? I don't know. But I've been having a little experience I might share with you. You know, we kind of became the sign candidates. In 2010, we gave away 20,000 yard signs for Robinson, and people pounded them into their yards. And another 20,000 car magnets. We make so many signs that my sons, who are all scientists and engineers, got some old equipment and started making signs because we couldn't afford to buy them all the time. And now I think they're making signs for virtually all the Republicans in the state. But the fairs, you know, and parades and all the things that are such a wonderful experience in the political process in District 4 are all opportunities to shake hands with the voters, give campaign signs, and hope that you build their enthusiasm so you can win the election. But we have a different thing now. There only seems to be one candidate in this entire election, President Trump. And so I started giving away Trump signs on these things. We go down to parade route, and I have some Robinson signs. They take his for 4-1, of course. But this has been quite an experience because these things just evaporate. Matthew made a few more. I think he made 150 for me a few days ago, and they're mostly gone. You guys are welcome to the ones that are left along the wall over there. I think that this, I could go over all of these political issues. You've had a fantastic demonstration of the most important ones today. But what's most important is to support this man. He's not, doesn't walk on water, but he's exactly what we needed. It's exactly what Providence has given us at this time and place. And he will be essential to return to freedom. And I have a fantasy. We give a lot of these out in campaign, you know, during elections and so forth. But the election's always on. The campaign is always on. Every time you open the news, there's another attack on our president and everyone around him. I'm thinking about what the state would look like if instead of 20,000 election time, you take 40, 50,000 of these things and pound them in the yards all over Oregon and leave them there. Anybody who comes to so-called liberal Oregon, every time he looks around, he sees this. You'd be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And it might have an incredible effect. I don't know how to solve these problems. I know that if we manage to beat DeFazio, we'll be a credit to the voters and to our country because we are exceptionally good scientists and engineers, and we can bring things to the U.S. Congress that are of great value. But we're little tiny bit players. You know, we're not very big. But you look for some little thing you can do. And this you can do. Every day, the president, this guy's incredible. Did anybody read his speech to the United Nations? It was unbelievable. He's an American. And an eloquent one, a powerful and strong one. And I think that when you pound one of these in the ground, it's not just for this man or for his vice president, you pound it into the ground for American freedom, for liberty. Every thing, every effort we make, just as this place is devoted to it, is on behalf of our Christian faith and on behalf of our constitutional republic. And he's giving us the first real hope of turning around the attacks that have been made on us. So our family's doing our best. We are just like the rest of you, looking around. What can we do to be useful? This is my favorite thing right now. And things are, efforts along these lines are springing up everywhere. I was told I'd take this opportunity to mention a new one. Over in Florence, something has sprung up called the Patriot Place. And they're like many, they have the same goals as many of you. You know, the pro-liberty organizations all come down to Amy's meetings, and you all represent them. You walk into this place, it's a terrific new effort, and all you see in there is the Christian faith and the Constitution of the United States. And they said I could introduce them and they could do a couple of minutes speech about what they're doing. But in any case, every one of us should look, as many of you are doing, for some little thing we can be useful, where we can be useful. If we ever get a chance to use our science in Washington, that would be more useful because that's what we have to offer. We'll try very hard to get rid of DeFazio for you. Maybe we'll succeed and maybe we won't. But I thank you for the opportunity to even be among you today. This is the greatest Pro-Olympic crowd in Oregon, and it's wonderful. Please take those signs, but please don't fight for them. There aren't enough for everybody. Take one you can. Thank you.
You know what? I just had a little bit of a brainchild while you were speaking. You're doing your part. So here's what I'm going to do to help him print signs. I'm going to give you $20 to help pay for the signs, and I get to take a sign too. Seriously, friends, I have been down to their laboratories. I've seen their sign making operation, and I got to tell you, they do these things far cheaper, make it available for Republican candidates. I am proud to help with that effort. Thank you guys. Thank you, Art, so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
All right.
On your main street, there's a small building, and there is a gigantic flag that's been painted on the front of it. And that's where you come to be free. Because for 8 years, we were intimidated that we couldn't say things. You couldn't say Donald Trump in a restaurant without someone freaking out. We have this place called Patriot Place, where conservatives, people of like minds, can gather and just take comfort and encouragement from each other. It's a beautiful place.
It's, you walk into the room, and you'll see the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence on the left. You'll see couches around. In front of you, you'll see a big screen with Fox News running. You'll see people at the bar, free coffee, and folks chatting about what the latest thing is that's going on. I wonder how many of you have gone or can go to a local coffee shop in a Make America Great Again hat, Trump t-shirt, say words like God or Jesus Christ out loud, or gee, I love the job our president's doing, and not feel that going Patriot Place you can. So we use it as a meeting house. We had Sam, we had Art, we had a lot of speakers. We've been running about 50 to 60 people a day have come through and bought stuff. Patriot Place has lots of patriotic things. This is for you, Ames, when we're done. And, go ahead.
So we're not trying to, believe me, this only pays for the lights and the water.
It pays all the rent, the lights, the water, and everything because we sell little patriotic items.
But yeah, the whole idea is to encourage conservatives. They're not alone. We have people coming from all over the country. They walk in the door and they look up and they say, oh my God, I can't believe this place exists. And we have people saying there should be one of these in every state of the country.
And that's what you can do. Besides voting, you can have your own Patriot Place. The next time we come here, rather than saying, has anybody been to Patriot Place, and there's one in the world, we want to see hundreds of these around the U.S. So, second table from the back, we have information about it. We're at patriotplaceflorence.com. You can contact us through that. And we even have the 10-step handy guide to starting a Patriot Place. It's only 10 steps. That's all you need to do. And it's so fun and good for your soul to see all these people so happy and feeling just like we are.
Thank you.
Wonderful. What a great idea, huh? So maybe some of you will get the idea. You want to start a Patriot Place in your community? Go talk to them. I think that's fantastic. All right, let's get Tom Cherrick. You're going to be up first, and then right behind him is Mark Callahan on deck. Folks, I just want to say something about KSLM radio station. They're out there. That's the radio station I do my morning show called Political Coffee. It's a 1-hour political show in the morning from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then we rebroadcast at 6 in the evening. It's 12:20 a.m. It's out of Salem and 104.3 FM. 12:20 a.m. 104.3 a.m. And you know what? If you can't get it in your community, like I can't when I'm down at the family farm sometimes, we make an app for your smartphone. So you can listen to it like I do when I'm in the tractor sometimes. So again, KSLM. Also want to acknowledge Sam Carpenter and his lovely wife Diana. They're friends of mine. Sam ran for the governor, Republican nomination. Thank you, Sam. All right, here we go, folks. 2-minute speeches. Tom, you're up and you look suited for it. Go.
Hi. I come to you dressed as Captain James Barrett, the cause of Marion Corner back in April 19th, 1775. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Savior in 1990. I began lay pastor ministry in 1991. 1993, I got married, been married 25 years. I have a daughter born in 1998, son born in 2003. Can we take a moment of silence for those who gave their lives in Flight 93? Amen. 2006, I was released to start preaching at Market Lancaster Church on the street corner of Market Lancaster in Salem. Tomorrow will be my 12th anniversary, my 300th message, my 12th time open carrying, and maybe my 4th time with the police coming and asking me why I'm open carrying. The last 3 times they haven't arrested me, they decided to leave because I was following the law. In 2012, I became the Oregon State Coordinator of Crowd America. I founded the first Patriots Day Parade on 9/11/2012, the day of the Benghazi incident. That Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Glenn Doherty, and Tyrone Woods died. So let's take a moment of silence and remember them. Amen. I founded in 2015 the first Oregon Prayer Breakfast at Willamette University. I've been praying that God would open up Oregon Prayer Breakfast. And after 6 months, he said, well, why don't you start one at Willamette? I thought, at Willamette? How in the world can I do that? But I prayed for Lynn Furter and Kathy from the Roseburg House of Prayer. And later that year, I prayed for People's Feet. And later that year, they were the ones that led all the prayer down after the Umpqua Community College massacre. In 2016, I started the first Marion County, that's the name of my time.
No. Finish up.
I wanted to be right on time. So, let's see. So in 2016, I led the first Marion County Breakfast of Believers on the National Day of Prayer. And then I began leading the Riverfront Pavilion, a 4-hour event that had been led by a church in the past in Salem, but they had given it up because of the cost of $200. And so I took that on as part of my street corner ministry. And I've been leading National Day of Prayer events. Now, I'm not the State Prayer Coordinator for National Day of Prayer. Jim Moore and Peter Carlson are that. But I am the State Coordinator for Crowd America, which is now part of the National Day of Prayer. And so, for one last person, let's remember Lavoy Finucane, that I recognized on the 5th annual Salem Patriotic Sidewalk Parade. So let's take a moment to remember Lavoy and his family. Amen. And then for all of us, for us courage to stand until our final hour. Let's take a moment for ourselves. Amen.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Mark Callahan, where are you? Come on over here, Mark. Mark Callahan's running for Congress. Why don't you greet everyone?
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Callahan, and I'm running for Congress in Oregon's 5th Congressional District against Kurt Schrader. What is going to motivate and inspire us to win in November? What is going to motivate and inspire us to win in 38 days? It's going to be our faith in God. It's going to be our action that we take on behalf of our Republican candidates. It's going to be the fact that we need to send good men and women up there to help our President Trump, to be an ally to our President Trump like I will. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe in things like honor and integrity and character, and that's what we need in this country. We've gotten away from that. Not too many people talk about honor and integrity and character anymore. It's words of a day gone by. But it's something we need to reinvest in our country. It's something we need to invest our faith in our Lord God in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going up there to help our President Trump. I'm going up there to fight for things like veterans' health care. I'm going up there to fight for things like tax reform. My opponent actually just voted against making the individual tax cuts permanent yesterday on House Vote 414. I'm going up there to fight for immigration reform. In my opinion, if you're going to be here, you got to be here legally, period. Our veterans served our country, and now it's time for us to serve them. I'm going up there to fight for veterans. Both my parents were Navy. My wife is a Coast Guard vet. I'm going up there to fight for veterans. I'm going up there to help our President Trump keep this country great and keep America great. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask for your vote. Tell you something a little personal. Every time I go to a meeting out there on the campaign trail, all throughout the 5th Congressional District, even a couple years ago when I ran for U.S. Senate against Ron Wyden, every time I go out there for a meeting, I always pray. I always end up in like some sort of fast food restroom, changing into my campaign suit here, but I always say a prayer. I always ask the Lord to help me guide me through the meeting. I always ask the Lord for strength and guidance, to guide my heart, to get me through the meeting. And he always does. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not too many politicians that talk about their faith on the campaign trail. I do, because I'm not ashamed. I'm not embarrassed to talk about my faith. I believe in the Lord God. And I believe we need to get out there and send good men and women to help our President Trump to fulfill the Lord God's mission for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Callahan. I'm running for Congress in Oregon's 5th Congressional District. Let's get to work. Thank you, and may God bless America.
Thank you, Mark. Bob Sheldon, you're on deck, as is Bill Dewey behind you, Oregon Liberty Coalition, Oregon Citizen Lobby. But first, Ames.
All right. Sam Carpenter. Sam was to be my choice for governor, but some politics going on. And he wasn't, but he has the right principles, and I would like him to take 3 minutes and say a few words, please. Thank you, Sam.
Ames, thank you so much. Ames, Dana, thank you so much for doing this. And Jeff Kraut, who has I've been in politics about 8 years. My first introduction to logical political thought was this man. Thank you, Jeff. And thanks to all of you for supporting me in the gubernatorial run. I'm not going to say much about that today, and I have been very quiet, those of you who follow me on Facebook, and I have to be. And I'll tell you why on November 7th, maybe. There are some things that have to happen before I can say too much, but I can tell you this, Diana, there's Diana in the back. I love you. Diana and I went all over the state multiple times. What I can tell you today is this: the conservative grassroots is more powerful than it's ever been before. And I'm not just telling you that because we're all excited about what happened at the Patriot Place. Oh my gosh. Or down in Eugene, amazing meetings there just before the ceiling fell in. I can tell you from our polling, very scientifically done polling, the power of Republican grassroots has never been higher. It's never been stronger. I can tell you that much right now. I'm very optimistic. The Congressman talked about being optimistic. I'm very optimistic too, and so is Diana. We have a lot to look forward to, and it has to do with the energy of the conservative grassroots. There's a whole lot more to tell you. What I ask you to do, and this will sound odd, I suppose, but don't write me in the gubernatorial race. Do whatever you're going to do. I encourage you to vote a straight Republican ticket, but do not write me in, and I'll explain that on November 7th. Okay? It's really good what's happening. I want you all to stay very optimistic. Coming here today was a sacrifice for everybody. Art Robinson, love you, man. There is an example of what we can do. And Jeff, the last thing, I'll finish up here. We had a chat, and we go back and forth once in a while. What we need is a powerful ORP, Oregon Republican Party, that is Trump-centric and is nothing more than a farm team for really good candidates. To recruit, to train, to protect, to promote. We have to change the legislature. Somebody, was it Congressman, talked about having a new Congress? That's what we need. We're just talking if we don't change the House and the Senate and get in that governor's chair. Let's do it in 4 years. Thank you, everybody.
Sam Carpenter. So while Bob Soden is making his way up here, just want to remind you, Valley area you can listen to. We have the most live conservative talk radio, 12 hours straight of it, Monday through Friday. You got me for 1 hour in the morning. You've got Laura Ingram. You've got Alex Jones. You've got Sean Hannity, and you've got Mark Levin after that. If you love conservative talk radio, tune in to KSLM. Bob Soden.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for everyone coming to the Gathering of Eagles this year. It's a time to meet old and new friends and get connected to issues that you're interested in and hear these great speakers. Myself, in 2009, I was an isolationist. I just wanted to be left alone on my little retirement farm. And then I heard Glenn Beck on the radio and TV, and he was saying what was going on in the world. I watched and listened with disbelief. I couldn't believe it. And then he spoke of the 9 principles and the 12 values, and how many local groups were springing up in response. I went to our local 912 meeting, and came back home with my eyes open. My wife asked if we were going back to the next meeting. And I stated if we go back, that I would be in for the long haul. I became the Issues Committee, and then I became chair for 2 years, and I was on conference calls. In 2010, in Turner, Oregon, the 912 had a convention, and the Oregon Liberty Coalition was created. And getting off my notes here. The Oregon Liberty Coalition was created, and I was on more phone calls, conference calls. I was on a call that was 3 rooms. And on one of the calls was Wayne Brady. Some of you may remember Wayne. And he was talking about a citizens group that would go to the legislation and speak out for it. And Wayne passed away in 2012, just as the Oregon Citizens Lobby was having their first meetings. I lost on my notes here. So, I'm going to have to get off my notes. It's confusing to me. I'm not a great speaker, so forgive me for that. But we come here today with the Oregon Liberty Coalition. We have the affiliates here with Oregon Citizens Lobby and the Cottage Grove 912. And Bill Dewey is coming up next, and he's the volunteer today for the booth, and he can tell you some about the Oregon Citizens Lobby and what it does.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. You know, if it wasn't for Bob, a lot of grassroots things would have happened in this state. He's a tireless worker, and Kay, you're wonderful for putting up with all the phone calls and all the hours that Bob puts into Oregon Liberty Coalition. We have a Monday conference call for all of our Tea Party groups around the state of Oregon, and he facilitates that, makes recordings of it, and this is how we coordinate our activities, including the Oregon Citizen Lobby, which is your opportunity to come to the legislature when they're in session and join with others and go around and make a difference on individual legislation. To tell you about that is our friend Bill Dewey, and up next is Bob Niemeyer behind him.
Hi, Bill, and I'm Oregonian. I'm at the Oregon Citizens Lobby booth here. Second one down. These are our pamphlets. We have 2 websites that you can visit to learn what we do and join us. We hope you'd be interested in joining us. What we do is get involved with the legislative process as just normal Oregonians. We're not professional lobbyists, we're citizen lobbyists. A lot of us work from home. Jeff mentioned that you can go down to Salem and join the group and and lobby politicians in person. That's certainly a great thing. You should certainly meet with your own legislator and let them know what your positions are. But you can do this work right from home. A lot of our people do. We will train you how to read a bill that's in process, how to understand it, write a summary of it in plain English that anybody can understand. It gets published on our other website, which is called tracktheirvote.org. That serves our second purpose, which is to hold legislators accountable. So we publish these bill summaries online for anybody to read on Track Their Vote, and any Oregonian can read that summary and they can understand that bill, exactly what it's going to do, exactly how it's going to affect us, so that they can call their legislator, they can write, they can email, they can write testimony if they want to go testify at a hearing. If you can't make it to Salem, you can write some testimony that someone else can deliver at a hearing. If you're not a good public speaker, if you're a great speaker but not a great writer, you can go testify with something that someone else wrote. That actually happened to me the first year I was involved with this. I wrote a bill summary and it was posted up on our website, and I happened to be watching a hearing online. You can do, I don't know if you can do that. If you know you can do that, you can watch these hearings online as they're underway. You can also watch recordings of ones that have happened before. I was watching a hearing, there was a guy testifying, and the words he was saying were what I had written, or a bill summary I had written. And so, you know, if you think you can't make a difference, you can, you know, right from your home. We can train you to do it. We'd love for you to join us. Whatever your specialty is, we have 9 subgroups: education, medical, taxation, government operations. My group happens to be called Law Enforcement, Military, and Firearms. And we, whatever your specialty is, we can find a way to plug your specialty in to having an effect on legislation and process. So join us if you would. Go to our website, it's on here. Right in the center of our page is a sign-up link. That's how you can get in touch with us, and we'll get you plugged in.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Also, the Oregon Citizen Lobby will meet every Thursday in the Capitol building. We have a room, we have coffee for you, and usually goodies. We're there all day. You can watch. We usually have a television in there. We're watching hearings. So it's every Thursday. We're in room 350 on the 3rd floor, which is right between both chambers. So it's very centrally located. You can really make a difference here, and I want to encourage you to do that. All right, on deck is Suzanne Gallagher from Parents' Rights. Please give a warm welcome to a guy who's thrown his hat into the ring to run for the state legislature, Bob Niemeyer.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Niemeyer, and I'm running for the 35th House District of the House of Representatives. That's basically Tigard, Metzger, basically Washington Square area. I was going to talk about toll roads and PERS and all that stuff, but everybody's probably heard all of that. So given the things that I've heard today, I've decided to tell you something about how I believe I'm worshiping God. Now, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I'm definitely not a PhD, as you heard earlier today. I'm also an entrepreneur. I am an inventor, and I'm a businessman in Tigard for 30 years. And something that I realized that I've been doing basically all of my life is trying to learn the truth about technology and what's going on in the world around us. One of those key things happens to be the environment, for instance. I can tell you any number of ways how global warming is not done by mankind. I can tell you any number of ways about how the cement floor is actually manufactured, where it comes from, how it is actually put down and produced to make this building. And what I'm realizing now is that I can take that technology and my background and offer that to the state legislature in ways that will keep the state legislature honest. I can bring a set of technological truths basically to our legislature that some of the really dumb people that we know in our legislature cannot get around. So that's really what compelled me to actually run for office. Although I will say it was the toll roads thing that put me over the edge to run. So, please, anybody in Tigard here, vote for Bob Niemeyer. I do have some signs in my car if anybody's
Do
interested.
you have a website, Bob?
And my website is bobniemeyer.com, BOBNIEMEYER. And I'm on Facebook too, it's Bob Niemeyer 2018. And you can actually see quite a few of the things that I believe in and would like to see turned into legislation for the Oregon, for the betterment of Oregon. So thank you very
Bob.
much.
Thank you, Bob. So Jeff Jefferson from Measure 106, you're on deck. Folks, did you know that a 15-year-old child can have a sex change operation in Oregon without their parents' permission and have it paid for by you, the taxpayer? It's true. You know, the only reason we know that is because parents' rights in education. Please give a warm welcome to Suzanne Gallagher to tell us more.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff. Actually, I hadn't planned to talk about sex change operations, but it is true. And the reason that schools have an interest in that is because we have clinics on high school campuses. Now, I have to note that this group that we have here today doesn't include a lot of people who have kids in schools right now. Would I be correct at that? How many of you have kids in school? Not that many. How many of you have grandchildren? Okay. How many of you know that the heart of the school is the curriculum, and that is what affects the culture of our nation? Yes. So we do all have an interest in our schools. My husband and I have 8 grandchildren, and they all live in Oregon. One is going to Christian school, but the rest will probably go to public. I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the future will bring, right? And even if they do go to a private school, they are affected by the culture. So I would like to invite you to join our group. If you have email, sign up for our newsletter, our news alerts. Our news alerts come out whenever we see something that you need to know about, like sex change operations, like the transgender child who came to school in West Lynn in 3rd grade, and they threw a party for him/her. You need to know what is happening in your schools because you pay taxes, and so you're supporting it. So some other subjects that we cover in parents' rights include the LGBTQ agenda, sex education, which by the way is highly influenced by Planned Parenthood, and it is in all the schools, gender transitioning for minors, school health clinics, safety and privacy, which includes the bathroom issue, obscenity in the classroom. Obscenity in the classroom, now that's an interesting subject because it is legal in the state of Oregon for teachers to show to minors what you would not be able to show to the minors that live next door to you. Tracking with me? So they can show obscene materials to minors in school. We want to change that. So we have legislation, actually we've already talked with legislators who will hopefully present that, and hopefully it will get out of committee. Viewpoint discrimination. Viewpoint discrimination is discrimination against kids who believe like we do, who want to write about Jesus or President Trump in their classroom work, but are graded down or censored. That's happening in our schools in Oregon and all over the country. We get emails from people in Massachusetts, other states, California. We're networking with states all across the country. Radical sex education is a problem internationally, and our tax dollars through Planned Parenthood International is promoting it. So I hope that you'll join us. I hope that you'll support us financially if you can. And we have information, if you hold up your hands as we move up and down the aisles, we'll hand some out.
Do you have a website?
Absolutely. It's parentsrightsined.com. Thank you so much.
Parentsrightsined.com. Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate it. Art Crino, you're going to be up on deck after Jeff Jimerson. Jeff Jimerson has been fighting a fight for 6 years to put it on the ballot so that we the people can vote to no longer pay for abortions. Because you know, Governor Kate Brown not only believes in the taxpayers should pay for abortions, but she also got $10 million in the last budget to pay for the abortions. We taxpayers pay for the abortions of illegal alien women. Jeff Jimerson, we're going to stop it.
So, just thanks Ames and Nema and everyone who's helped put this on. Jeff, this is a needed event, and we're grateful that we could be a part of it. So, my name is Jeff Jimerson. I head up a group called Oregon Life United, and we are a grassroots, statewide, citizen-led organization that is the sponsor of Yes on Measure 106. We have a booth out in the courtyard with these signs that we want to give you today. So 106 is sort of this historic moment for us as a state, I believe. You know, over the last 7 years, many of us in this room have been gathering signatures really without the help of any other established groups or organizations to put this on the ballot. We had no less than 10,000 people turn in signatures, 150,000 people approximately who signed this petition so that we all could vote in November to stop our tax dollars from paying for abortions. So clap please for those who have done this and have been a part of it. Thank you for doing this with me. You know, Janet earlier today, she spoke about territory and spiritual territory. And this movement is about taking back territory. It really is. The other side, the enemy, the spiritual enemy, has taken territory, and we're trying to take it back. So I implore you, don't give up on this. Don't say Oregon is too liberal. This issue is passable in November. This is not an issue that is out of our reach. So I want you to be a part of it. I want you to come, get some signs. 3 things actually. Number 1, I want you to pray. Number 2, I want you to speak up, and these signs are part of that. And then number 3, vote. So let's just do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff Jimerson. Well done. Tony from Convention of the States, you're going to be up on deck. Please give a warm welcome to my longtime friend and a powerful man and believer in liberty, Art Crino.
Thank you. Yes, I spent one combat tour out in the Pacific on a Navy substation. And we came back in 1945 celebrating. We drove the Japanese out of Manchuria, China, Formosa, and other places. Then in 1949, we find out that at the Yalta Conference, they gave Manchuria and China to Joe Stalin. And this full-blooded Italian got emotional. We left 104,000 GIs out there. So we, looking for answers, went down a lot of rabbit holes. In 1960, we discovered the John Birch Society. It hadn't been formed for long. And we became active, and they introduced us to what turned out to be the deep state. We've been members for 58 years. Next week, we're going to be back in Appleton, Wisconsin to celebrate the 60th anniversary. The motto right from day one has been less government, more responsibility, and with God's help, a better world. I invite you to come out to our table. We have a wide variety of ammunition against the deep state. It's all free. Thank you.
Our Trino, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you, and his wife Sally stands right there with him. They've been tireless workers. They're everywhere. It's an amazing thing. Up on deck will be, let's see here, Jim Ludwig from Oregonians for Immigration Reform to talk about Measure 105, talk about Convention of States. Here's Tony.
Thank you, Jeff. Our founding fathers gave us a republic, a constitutional republic. A republic that was limited in power and scope. But they also gave us a method to change that constitution if over time people felt it was necessary. That's Article 5. And George Mason at that time says, wait a minute. Knowing the human nature and knowing that power corrupts absolutely, we need to give the people an opportunity to fix the Constitution if it needs to happen. And so that part was added to Article 5. Gives the people an opportunity, not just Congress. Our government is out of control. I don't think I have to convince you that, probably. I don't expect that Congress is going to limit their term limits. I don't expect that they're going to balance the budget based on what we've seen in the past. How are we to fix that? The Convention of States project is a grassroots project where we educate individuals, the grassroots, we involve the individuals at the grassroots level, and we go through our state legislatures to get them to submit an application to Congress for a Convention of the States. The Convention of States application, there has to be 34 states, and those applications have to be like in scope. The issues have to be alike. In our proposal, there are three things that we propose to do with a Convention of States, to talk about. Fiscal restraints, limiting the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, and term limits. Anything that doesn't fit within those three categories would be out of bounds, not subject to be discussed at the convention. I appreciate folks who are fearful of opening up the Constitution. Been there myself. But are we talking about the Constitution that you have in your pocket, the original Constitution with its original meaning? Or are you talking about the Constitution that you will find in Washington, D.C. now, which is that thick? I appreciate folks who are fearful of it because that makes, I understand that you love the original Constitution like I do. And that you don't want to see it messed up. And I'm not fearful that there aren't some people in this country that have the ability and the quality to do the job right. And I'm going to close with a quote from Winston Churchill here, because I think it may be appropriate. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. If you guys have a website?
Conventionofstates.com, conventionofstates.com.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tony. Our last speaker is Jim Ludwig, Oregonians for Immigration Reform, a man who has been labeled by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a racist. His group, Oregonians for Immigration Reform, is labeled as a hate group, which it isn't, I can assure you. They have worked tirelessly. They worked alongside of some of the rest of us and a lot of you in this room to put Measure 88 on the ballot in 2014 that repealed the legislature's and the governor's law to give illegal aliens driver's licenses. We had no money to run that campaign, right, Jim? Virtually none. Outspent 10 to 1. 67% of the voters of Oregon, almost 3 to 1, rejected and repealed the law to give illegal aliens driver's licenses. Every county but one voted overwhelmingly to reject it. Jim Ludwig is now back with Measure 105, having to do with sanctuary state laws. So, please give a warm welcome to a guy who has suffered many slings and arrows and has stood firm, Jim Ludwig.
Thank you, Jeff. This race looks like it's had a lot of slings and arrows, I know. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Art Kreiner. He didn't say it, but he was on a subchaser off of special rights that even American citizens don't get. Let me explain it just briefly. When ICE went to Sheriff Mike Lewis, within a month and a half, he raped a woman, sexually abused another. Fortunately, he was caught and sentenced about 6 months ago to 35 years at the Oregon State Penitentiary, which means you and I, all of us, on the hook for $1 million of incarceration costs for someone who had no legal right to be here in the first place. We should have been turned over to ICE, and 2 women would not have been sexually assaulted. They left Multnomah County, which I don't blame them. Speaking of Multnomah County, you all remember Judge Monica Harantz. She was in the Multnomah County Courthouse. In her room, she had in front of her an illegal alien drunk driver. It became apparent to her and other people in the building that ICE was waiting outside to arrest the guy as soon as the trial was over. So what Judge Monica Harantz did was sneak him out the side door. Now, to me, that's aiding and abetting a criminal activity. I filed a formal judicial complaint against her. But guess what? The complaint was heard in, where would you expect? Multnomah County Courthouse, in front of her peers, and she was exonerated. That's despicable. Where is the safest place for a law enforcement agent to make an arrest? Isn't it in a controlled environment of a courthouse? Not out in some back alley, someplace like that? Well, who's opposed to what we're trying to do? Who's opposed to Measure 105? How about Nike? We're just a group of regular folks, and Nike's coming out against it. How about Columbia Sportswear? They're coming out against us. Every newspaper in Oregon, with the exception of the Bend Bulletin, is coming out in opposition to Measure 105. I had a call 2 days ago from a reporter from Eugene Register-Guard. She said, "Are you aware, Jim, that the president of the University of Oregon and the president of Oregon State have come out against your initiative?" Why in the world would a president of a university who's a state employee come out in opposition to a citizen's initiative? We've got a lot of people opposed to us. We're going to be outspent, as Jeff mentioned, 10 to 1 in the last campaign. It's probably going to be 20 to 1 in this campaign. But I have confidence in us as citizens. I have confidence in everybody in this room. Tell everybody you know. Vote yes on 105. Let's do away with this special sanctuary policy that benefits only criminal aliens. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jim Ludwig. Oregonians for Immigration Reform. My friends, you've been a wonderful audience and very patient. And here with some closing remarks is our friend Abe Kirkbride.
Well, I had a long speech, and it's going to be a short speech. Okay? But then we're going to end with prayer. How many pastors do we have left? Did we all die or maybe what? But anyway, I think we're going to have we'll close it with Jeff, myself, Bob McEwen, Janet Ford. I think they're going to be our pastors tonight. So prepare your prayer. So anyway, so we close it out. My topic, because my guest comes first. So my topic was the deep state. Now you've all had a copy of the article I wrote in the Washington Times. Took 2 pages. We got a call from Thomas McDivitt, the chairman of the board. We had 2 of his guys sitting there, and they were going through this stuff to read this. And I wanted to remind, do you realize that most of Congress had no clue who wrote the First Amendment to the Constitution? I just happen to have a great family. I've been blessed. They all have great families. Anyone can have a great family. I have an ancestor who did this, and I have an ancestor who did that, and it's okay. I didn't want to build the Union Pacific Railroad. I want to wrote the First Amendment. I want to wrote 20 books in the Bible. I have a tendency to believe that big guy is kicking me in the tail to do my job here on earth. I believe that God gives us spiritual, and He gives us a body to run around with for a short bit of time and get His work done. That's kind of what I think. But anyway, what you get, if you don't have one of these, read it. Because the deep state, I think I first discovered that Tom DeLay on the front porch, and when he was there in real agony, and the queuing over there, sitting in the corner of the next phone. Anyway, we were all sitting on the front porch, and he was going to a bit angry because they're trying to hang him out to dry like they do us Republicans and Democrats. So they had two justices hang him out, bragging about how they're going to hang him out to dry. One Republican. Very few people know this. But I had the bright eye. I said, Tom, how are you doing? He said, not doing very well. I got 2 Democrats that are trying to hang me out to dry, and it doesn't look very good. And I said, I knew the power of an ethics complaint. So he did. You got that in the video? Yeah, I got that. We got that. I said, did you send it to me? I sent it to me. But I had a rapper. The rapper, he was down on Fox News, he was rapping, and I said, would you make this thing go viral? We got the video, and this is horrible. This judge is doing this. Am I okay with telling this story, Bob? Anyway, so I filed an ethics complaint against the judge and at the Attorney General. Now, we have no clue to be sure this is exactly what happened, but we got 2 Republican justices and 1 Democrat. Suddenly things switched. Tom DeLay wasn't acquitted on the front porch, but his life changed on the front porch. And he said, and told me, I think maybe Bob, his life changed on the front porch of the log house over there. And he was at the prayer house that I've been to. It's right around the Capitol Hill Club, it's right around the corner in Washington, D.C. On his knees. And the acquittal came in. And his crime was raising money for the Republican Party. The worst was false accusation. And he was acquitted. But on the porch, he said something that, and they had suffered a lot, like Judge Callahan, our Supreme Court Justice. And he said something that struck me. He says, what I know what I need to talk about tomorrow. And he wasn't going to talk more than 5 minutes. Shut it down. Shut it down. If we are a republic, the federal government was supposed to be doing anything but interstate commerce and national defense. The deep state has made this thing into a fat cow that's overeaten. And the deep state is more than just infiltrating into our actual schools and governments and universities. That's part of it. But they're funded. This fat cow is $22 trillion plus going that way. And the fat cow outside the United States is China and the European Union. And my friend Jerome Corsi, by the way, is now being persecuted. He was supposed to be here to speak. And he can't speak because Mueller is interviewing him, or just talk about intimidating him because of a witness, or even whatever. It's just to shut him up. So he can't talk, period. So I'm talking for him. So how do you cure the deep state? You cut like a tumor, you have to cut the blood supply off. If we're really a republic, it's not a problem, we should start shutting it down. But Congress doesn't. Those Fisher Range said, man's inherently corrupt, and we need term limits. He believed in 8-year term limits. We really have to shut the money supply off to the tumor. And if the states want to do something else, we got to shut the money off. So I would, and what Jerome proposed in his book that he's being persecuted for, is that we really cut it off, tear down these institutions by cutting their supplies off, and shrink it like a tumor, and slowly let the employees out of there. Cut the budgets off, so they have to lay off employees. That's one thing Jerome that suggests. The other thing, we create instead of having the media in the White House, we go across the street, build a much larger auditorium, and we dilute that. There's no chemistry thing. Solutions, pollutions, dilutions. So let's dilute the media. Bring in all kinds of other media. Get rid of this media. These media all talk. If you have a diagram of the deep state, you'll see that there's several hundred organizations. In the 1920s and 30s, we had 10 millionaires who controlled the United States. Today, it's different. We've got this bloated government, but that's part of the deep state. But the outside of the country is China. Okay, I served in Vietnam, you know that. And we were attacked by China. They can't take us militarily, but they can take it if they use the falsehood, the lies, the narratives, and tell a false narrative, tell a lie enough times it becomes the truth, and can disrupt your government by doing that. Just like the Democrats are doing, who have been seduced by the deep state. And we're talking about evil versus good. Evil versus good. We're fighting a war against Satan and evil. And we are standing on, we're Christian soldiers fighting this war. And it's also being funded with trillions of dollars outside. And we're bloating our own selves. We're bloating our own selves, our own government, where it has to be cut down much less than even half the size. So anyway, that's what the best description I begin to give you of the deep state. Anyway, I wanted to give you some of that. And let's see if there's anything I missed in my notes. What's at stake is if we don't fix it, it's the end of America as I know it. And we have to, so read some of this, and then get a hold of Jerome's book, let's see what it is. Yeah, we get a hold of his new book on the deep state. I asked you to do that. So anyway, with our Bob coming up and Janet, come on up. And
Killing the deep state.
oh, yeah, there's some extra copies up there too. Jerome Corsi.
Father, we come to you and we thank you that you are good and you are all powerful and that you work through ordinary people and you do it without needing a majority and you do it without needing all of the Soros kind of money. You're God. And we just thank you that you gave us mercy, that you gave us a chance for our country back. And I just pray that you would equip the people that are here in this state that their light, as Bob has said, that America is the lighthouse to the world, that the light would shine so brightly in this state. I pray, God, for Ames and every member of this group and everyone who's come. I pray strength. I pray refreshment, encouragement. I pray, Father, for networking, for your ideas. I pray that you would give them an upgrade right now of the plans that you have for them, that they're thinking small. I pray, Father, give them the faith to step out, to do the impossible. Father, we don't just want our country back. We don't want to just react and respond. We are asking for you to use the people in this room, those who've come, and those who are hearing by video or audio in the future. I pray, God, that you would use them in such a powerful way to advance your kingdom beyond what we can imagine. I pray Ephesians 3:20 over this group, exceedingly abundantly greater than anything we know how to think or ask or dream of. Father, I pray that with this opportunity you've given us, with those who say they are for you, those who say they are for life, those who adhere to the principles and the pro-life platform of the Republican Party in the House, the Senate, the White House, Father, and those that are running for office here, Father, I just pray, breathe in this place, life. We speak life. And we're asking God not just to fight off the evil, but to advance your kingdom. That is my prayer in Jesus' name.